Imagine you wake up one morning, open your laptop, and Windows shows you a message. It says your computer is no longer safe. It says security updates have ended. And then right below that scary warning, there is a button. A button that says, stay protected, pay $30. You feel worried? You do not want to get hacked. You do not want a virus. Your computer has all your photos, your important documents, your emails, your banking information. You cannot afford to have it compromised. So you reach for your card. You're about to pay. But wait, stop right there. Put the card down. Because before you give Microsoft a single dollar, you need to watch this video. Because that $30, in most cases, you do not need to pay it. Not even close. And Microsoft is very deliberately counting on the fact that you do not know that. Let me explain everything from the beginning, and I promise by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to do. No technical jargon, no complicated steps, just clear, honest information that Microsoft does not exactly put in big, bold letters on their website. So let us start with what actually happened. Windows 10 was released on July 29th, 2015. It was a big deal. Microsoft said it was going to be the last version of Windows they ever made. They were going to just update it forever. Millions of people loved it. It was fast. It was familiar. It worked great. People stuck with it for years and years and more years. In fact, by late 2024, more than 60% of all computers in the entire world were still running Windows 10. That is not a small number. That is hundreds of millions of people. Now, every version of Windows has what is called a support lifecycle. This just means Microsoft commits to sending you security updates and patches for a certain number of years. After that period ends, they stop. They do not fix new security holes anymore. The computer still works, sure, but it becomes more and more vulnerable over time because hackers find new ways in, and Microsoft is no longer patching those holes. For Windows 10, that end date was October 14th, 2025. After that date, free security updates stopped coming, and this is where everything gets interesting and honestly a little bit shady. Because Microsoft knew that most of those hundreds of millions of Windows 10 users were not going to magically upgrade overnight. Some people had older computers that could not even run Windows 11. Some people just did not want to change. Some people had no idea this was even happening. So what did Microsoft do? They created something called the Extended Security Updates Program, or ESU for short. And for regular home users, they offered it for $30. One payment, 1 year of continued security updates, running until October 13th, 2026. Now on the surface, $30 sounds reasonable, right? That is like the price of a pizza for 1 year of staying protected. But here's what Microsoft did not exactly shout from the... Imagine you wake up one morning, open your laptop, and Windows shows you a message. It says your computer is no longer safe. It says security updates have ended. And then, right below that scary warning, there's a button that says stay protected, pay $30. You feel worried. You do not want to get hacked. You do not want a virus. Your computer has all your photos, your important documents, your emails, your banking information. You cannot afford to have it compromised. So you reach for your card. You are about to pay. But wait, stop right there. Put the card down. Because before you give Microsoft a single dollar, you need to watch this video. Because that $30, in most cases, you do not need to pay it. Not even close. And Microsoft is very deliberately counting on the fact that you do not know that. Let me explain everything from the beginning, and I promise, by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to do. No technical jargon, no complicated steps. Just clear, honest information that Microsoft does not exactly put in big, bold letters on their website. So let us start with what actually happened. Windows 10 was released on July 29th, 2015. It was a big deal. Microsoft said it was going to be the last version of Windows they ever made. They were going to just update it forever. Millions of people loved it. It was fast, it was familiar, it worked great. People stuck with it for years and years and more years. In fact, by late 2024, more than 60% of all computers in the entire world were still running Windows 10. That is not a small number. That is hundreds of millions of people. Now, every version of Windows has what is called a support lifecycle. This just means Microsoft commits to sending you security updates and patches for a certain number of years. After that period ends, they stop. They do not fix new security holes anymore. The computer still works, sure, but it becomes more and more vulnerable over time because hackers find new ways in, and Microsoft is no longer patching those holes. For Windows 10, that end date was October 14th, 2025. After that date, free security updates stopped coming. And this is where everything gets interesting and honestly a little bit shady, because Microsoft knew that most of those hundreds of millions of Windows 10 users were not going to magically upgrade overnight. Some people had older computers that could not even run Windows 11. Some people just did not want to change. Some people had no idea this was even happening. So what did Microsoft do? They created something called the Extended Security Updates Program, or ESU for short. And for regular home users, they offered it for $30. One payment, 1 year of continued security updates, running until October 13th, 2026. Now on the surface, $30 sounds reasonable, right? That is like the price of a pizza for 1 year of staying protected. But here's what Microsoft did not exactly shout from the dead. So you are paying or giving up your free backup to get a bare minimum lifeline on a system that is going nowhere. And even that lifeline has an expiration date, October 13th, 2026. After that, for regular home users, it is completely over. There are no more options. Microsoft has made it clear that the consumer ESU program only runs for 1 year. You cannot pay again for another year. You cannot extend it further. After October 2026, Windows 10 is fully unsupported, fully unpatched, and Microsoft will not offer you anything else. The only people who get more time are large businesses with special volume licensing, and they pay $61 per device per year. And that price doubles every single year after that. So what does this all mean? Even if you pay the $30 right now, you are only buying yourself until October 2026. After that, you are in the exact same situation, just with 30 fewer dollars in your wallet. You are not solving the problem, you are delaying it by 1 year. And this is where I want to have a real honest conversation with you, because depending on your situation, the right answer is very different. Let me walk through each type of person watching this. If you are someone whose computer actually can run Windows 11, you should stop reading and just upgrade right now. Today, Windows 11 is a completely free upgrade for any Windows 10 PC that meets the requirements. Free. You do not pay anything. You go to Settings, you go to Windows Update, and if your computer is compatible, the upgrade option will be right there. Most computers made after 2017 or 2018 can run Windows 11. The main requirements are a 64-bit processor, at least 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage, and something called TPM 2.0, which is a small security chip that most computers made in the last several years already have. So check first, seriously. If your PC is compatible, the ESU program is irrelevant to you. Just upgrade for free and move on with your life. Now, if your computer cannot run Windows 11, let us talk about your real options. And I want to give you honest answers here, not just scare you into spending money. Option 1 is to stay on Windows 10 and use the free ESU enrollment through the Settings backup method. This buys you 1 more year. Use that year wisely. Start making a plan. Start researching your next computer. Start saving a little money each month. 1 year sounds short, but if you use it intentionally instead of ignoring the problem, you can come out of it in a great position. Option 2 is to switch to Linux. Now, before you close this video, because I just said the L word, hear me out. Linux has come an incredibly long way. There are versions of Linux that look almost identical to Windows. One of the most popular ones for beginners is called Linux Mint. It is free, it is fast, it runs on older computers extremely well, and it gets security updates indefinitely. You do not pay for it ever. You download it, you install it, and it just works. Many people who could not upgrade to Windows 11 switched to Linux Mint and have never looked back. Your documents, your photos, your videos, all of those work fine. Web browsing is great. YouTube, Netflix, email, social media, all completely fine. For everyday computing tasks that most people actually do, the experience is so similar to Windows that many people honestly do not notice the difference after the first week. I know it sounds intimidating, but there are thousands of beginner-friendly tutorials online, and the Linux community is genuinely one of the most helpful and welcoming communities in all of tech. Option 3 is to buy a new PC. Now, I know that sounds like the most expensive option, but hear me out. A basic Windows 11 computer that handles everyday tasks like browsing, streaming, email, documents, and video calls does not cost as much as you might think. There are perfectly good laptops available for $200 to $300 that will run Windows 11 smoothly and come with a full support lifecycle that goes many years into the future. Compare that to paying $30 now, hitting a dead end in October 2026 anyway, and then having to buy a new computer at that point regardless. If you plan now, you can budget for it, shop for deals, and get ahead of the problem rather than scrambling at the last minute. Option 4, and this one genuinely surprises people, is that some older computers that do not officially meet Windows 11 requirements can actually be upgraded anyway, using an unofficial workaround. Microsoft themselves released guidance on a registry modification that lets you install Windows 11 on computers that technically do not have the right security chip or the right processor. The upgrade is not officially supported, and Microsoft will occasionally remind you of that. But for many people, it works fine and gives their older machines several more years of full Windows 11 support at zero cost. There are detailed guides online if you search for it. Just make sure you follow a guide from a reputable tech website and not some random forum post. Option 5, which many people overlook, is simply using the web browser more. Think about what you actually do on your computer every day. For most people, the honest answer is browsing the web, watching videos, checking email, using social media, and maybe opening a document or spreadsheet occasionally. All of that can be done entirely through a web browser on almost any operating system. If you switched to Linux or even used a basic Chromebook, your daily experience would be almost identical. The old idea that you absolutely need Windows for everything is just not true anymore for the average user. Now let me address something important. You might be thinking, okay, but is it actually dangerous to keep using Windows 10 without ESU? And the honest answer is yes, it gets riskier over time, but it is not like your computer immediately explodes the moment the support ends. What happens is gradual. Hackers discover new vulnerabilities in the operating system. Normally, Microsoft patches those holes. Without ESU, those holes stay open. The longer you wait, the more holes accumulate, and the more attractive your computer becomes to malicious software. If you mostly use your computer offline, the risk is lower. If you are constantly browsing the web, checking email, downloading files, the risk is higher. So it is not a cliff you fall off immediately, but it is a slope that gets steeper over time. This is why I keep saying, do not just do nothing. Even if you decide not to do anything paid, please at minimum enroll in the free ESU using the settings backup method, and start making a plan for what happens after October 2026. Let me now talk about some things that Microsoft is doing in connection with all of this that really bother me. Because the ESU program does not exist in isolation. It exists alongside a much larger push by Microsoft to get you off Windows 10 in a very specific direction that benefits them, not necessarily you. Microsoft really wants you to be on Windows 11, and they really want you to have a Microsoft account instead of a local account, and they really want you using their cloud services like OneDrive and Microsoft 365 subscriptions. And all of these things cost money over time. The ESU program, whether you pay for it or use the free backup method, requires you to sign in with a Microsoft account. Local accounts are not eligible. This means to get ESU at all, you have to create or use a Microsoft account, which hooks you further into their ecosystem. The free method literally requires you to sync your data to OneDrive, which is their cloud storage service. And once your data is there, and once you are used to having it there, you are more likely to stay in their ecosystem long term. I want to be very clear. I am not saying there is something wrong with Microsoft accounts or OneDrive. They are genuinely useful services. But I do think people should be aware that the design of the ESU program is not purely about your security. It is also about Microsoft's long-term business interests. Every decision they made about how to present this program, what to make free versus what to charge for, what to require as a condition of enrollment, reflects their business strategy, not just their concern for your well-being. And by the way, businesses have it even worse. We already talked about home users paying $30 for 1 year. For businesses that use enterprise or volume licensing, the first year costs $61 per device. Then year 2, that price doubles. Then year 3, it doubles again. So over 3 years, a business is paying dramatically more for an operating system that is getting no new features, no bug fixes, no improvements of any kind, just security patches on something that Microsoft would really prefer they just replaced. For a company with even 50 computers, we are talking potentially tens of thousands of dollars over 3 years just to stay on the same aging operating system. That is a lot of money for a lot of nothing. Okay, I also promised I would talk about refunds. So let us cover that. If you already paid the $30 before October 14th, 2025, meaning before the end of support date, you could cancel the order and get a refund as long as you did it before that date. If you paid after October 14th, 2025, then you are subject to Microsoft's standard digital purchase refund policy, which is much more restrictive and in many cases does not allow refunds at all for digital products. So unfortunately, if you paid and it has been a while, getting that money back may be difficult. What I would suggest is going to Microsoft's support page, explaining your situation clearly and politely, and seeing what they can do. Sometimes customer service can make exceptions. It is worth trying. And here's something important to understand about what that $30 actually buys you, because I think when people see the full picture, they realize just how limited the ESU program really is. You get critical security patches. That is the entire list. No bug fixes, no performance improvements, no new features. And crucially, no technical support. If something goes wrong with your Windows 10 PC while you are enrolled in ESU and you call Microsoft for help, they will not help you. The ESU program explicitly excludes technical support. So you are paying for security patches on a system that Microsoft has otherwise completely walked away from. It is like paying rent on an apartment where the landlord will fix the locks if there is a break-in attempt, but will not fix anything else. The heating breaks, not their problem. The plumbing leaks, not their problem. Someone tries to get in, they will send a locksmith. That is the ESU deal. And given that the free options give you that exact same limited service, paying for it makes even less sense. Now, I also want to address people who are in a situation where none of these options feel accessible. Maybe you are elderly, and changing anything about your computer feels overwhelming. Maybe you do not have anyone to help you. Maybe you rely on very specific old software that only runs on Windows 10, and you cannot upgrade because of that. These are real and valid situations, and I understand that for some people, paying $30 genuinely is the most practical choice in the short term. I am not judging that. What I am saying is that you should make that choice knowingly, with full information, not because you felt scared by a warning message and did not realize you had alternatives. If you are in that situation, here is my honest advice. Find your most tech-comfortable family member, friend, or neighbor, and show them this video. Let them help you figure out if your computer can run Windows 11 or if the free ESU enrollment is set up correctly. Maybe they can spend 30 minutes helping you check your rewards points balance. Maybe they can help you walk through the backup settings. This is not something you need to figure out completely alone, and it is absolutely not something you should be panicked into spending money on without understanding your options first. There is also a broader question worth asking here, which is why Microsoft decided to make this so complicated in the first place. Why create a paid product and then quietly offer the same thing for free? Why bury the free option inside a settings menu? Why not just give everyone the free update and stop causing confusion? The honest answer is that every single design choice in the system is intentional. The confusing messaging benefits Microsoft financially. The more people who do not know about the free option, the more people who pay the $30. And even the free option benefits Microsoft because it requires a Microsoft account and OneDrive usage, pulling people deeper into their paid ecosystem. Think about it this way. If you set up your Microsoft account to qualify for the free ESU, and your documents and settings start syncing to OneDrive, you are now using cloud storage. When you run out of the free 15 gigabytes of OneDrive storage, Microsoft will offer you more storage for a monthly fee. And once your data is in the cloud, many people just keep paying for it because switching is annoying. That is by design. Microsoft's business model has shifted significantly towards subscriptions and cloud services over the past decade. Windows itself is increasingly just a platform to funnel you toward Microsoft 365, OneDrive, Xbox services, and other recurring revenue streams. The ESU situation is just one small but very visible part of that strategy. Again, I want to be fair here. There's nothing inherently wrong with Microsoft having a business model. Companies exist to make money, but you, as a consumer, have the right to understand what is actually happening so you can make the best decision for yourself rather than the most profitable decision for them. Now, I want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture for a moment because I think there is something important to understand about why Microsoft ended Windows 10 support when they did. Microsoft says it is about moving forward, about security, about innovation, and there is some truth to that. Older operating systems do become harder to maintain over time, and eventually the engineering cost of supporting them becomes impractical. That is understandable, but the timing and the execution here tells a story. When they ended support, 60% of the world's computers were still on Windows 10. That is not a small tail end of stubborn holdouts. That is the majority. Ending support when the majority of your users are still on your platform and then creating a paid upgrade path that essentially exploits their inertia while quietly hiding the free option in a backup setting is a business move. It is designed to generate revenue and to accelerate adoption of Windows 11 in ways that serve Microsoft's ecosystem strategy. And this is not the first time they have done something like this. Microsoft has a long history of using end-of-support deadlines to pressure users. Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8. Every time support ends, there's a wave of fear and confusion, and a significant number of people end up paying for things they did not need to, or upgrading to hardware they did not need to replace, because they did not have the right information. I made this video because I do not want that to happen to you. So let me give you a very simple and clear summary of everything we have covered, because I know that was a lot of information. Windows 10 official support ended October 14th, 2025. Microsoft is offering $30 to home users for 1 year of security-only updates through October 2026. There are free ways to get the same thing. Method 1 is to back up your PC settings to your Microsoft account through the Windows Backup app. Method 2 is to redeem 1,000 Microsoft rewards points. The paid ESU and the free ESU are identical. Same updates, same protection, same expiration date. After October 2026, all consumer ESU ends regardless. No more extensions for home users. If your PC can run Windows 11, just upgrade for free. If it cannot, you have options including Linux, an unofficial Windows 11 upgrade, or planning to buy a new PC. Businesses face even steeper costs, starting at $61 per device and doubling annually. The most important thing I want you to take away from this video is this. Do not make any decision about this out of fear. Fear is exactly what Microsoft is counting on. When you see that scary message about your computer being unprotected, do not panic and reach for your credit card. Take a breath, do your research, and make an informed decision. Because in most cases, the right decision costs you nothing. Before you go, there's one more thing I want to mention that I think is genuinely worth your attention. Even after you solve the Windows 10 situation, whether that is through a free ESU, a Linux switch, or a Windows 11 upgrade, please think about your overall computer habits and security practices. Keep your browser updated at all times. Browsers like Chrome, Firefox, and Edge release their own security updates completely independently from Windows, and keeping them current is one of the most important things you can do. Do not click on suspicious links in emails. Even if the email looks like it is coming from someone you know, do not download software from random websites unless you are absolutely certain about the source. Use a password manager rather than the same password on every website. Back up your important files to an external drive or cloud storage on a regular schedule. And be skeptical of any pop-up or message that tells you your computer is infected and you need to call a number or pay immediately. That is almost always a scam. These habits protect you more than any operating system update ever could. The truth is that most successful cyber attacks on regular people do not happen because of an unpatched Windows vulnerability. They happen because someone clicked a bad link, downloaded a suspicious file, or got tricked by a convincing-looking fake email. Security is not just about which version of Windows you're running. It is about how you use your computer every single day. A fully updated Windows 11 computer used carelessly is far more vulnerable than a Windows 10 computer used by someone who is informed and cautious. And one last thing before we wrap up. If this video helped you, please share it with someone who might be about to pay $30 they do not need to pay. A parent, a grandparent, a friend who is not very tech savvy, an older colleague at work. You could literally save them money today just by sending them this link. That is the entire reason I made this. Real information for real people. No panic, no unnecessary spending. Just the truth about what is actually happening and what you can actually do about it. That is everything. Take care of yourself, stay informed, and do not let anyone, including one of the largest technology companies in the world, scare you into spending money you do not have to spend.